Good morning to you. Good Friday to you. Lots ahead for a busy weekend of holiday shopping. Let me do the setup of the program. Ben Dominich is coming along as he does most Fridays. We'll do a weekend review. A lot of news to review. I'm also going to talk with an extraordinarily interesting guy, Shyam Sankar. Shyam is the Chief Technology Officer of Palantir. I used to own Palantir. I sold it all last week. I did so when it became obvious I was going to book Shankar after reading his 18th thesis on defense reform and seeing he's being tipped, though not nominated yet, to be DepSec #2 at the Department of Defense under Pete Hegseth. And you always wait a little bit when your nominee has to get over some hurdles, which Pete is doing, to come up with the deputy secretary. But traditionally, the Secretary of Defense is the outside guy and the counselor to the president and the person who's dealing with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And the DepSec does a lot of that too, but the DepSec also looks inside the building to manage it. And if there's ever a building in need of reform, it's the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, and Sankar is the guy. I've not talked to him before, but I have read his 18 theses, and that which I understood to be true. So we'll talk to him next hour. I'll go over that at the bottom of the hour. The biggest headline of the morning, there are two. Assad's collapse triggers race to find missing chemical weapons. This is a Joby Warwick piece in the Washington Post, and Joby knows the region, he knows the issues, and he knows that in the 53 years of Assad dictatorship, they hid away a lot of chemical weapons. There are a lot of WMD in Syria. Israel has been methodically destroying them for the last 4 days, and that's good. What they know of, what they can find, the plants, the rockets, the storage depots, they're bombing them. I think it's more than 1,400 strikes. Good on the IDF. We do not want chemical weapons in the hands of anybody, much less jihadis. There's also a story in the Wall Street Journal, which is fascinating to me. Trump team weighs options, including airstrikes, to stop Iran's nuclear program. It is widely recognized that Iran is not on its heels, not on its back foot. It's on its back. It's absolutely lost. Its axis of resistance has been blown clear sky high in Lebanon and in Gaza. Syria has fallen. That was a key component of Iran's regional play for dominance. They've lost their president in a mysterious plane crash. They are obviously penetrated by Mossad at every level of the IRGC, the Quds Force, and indeed Khamenei might be a Mossad agent for all we know at this point. And all they've got left is the threat of getting a bomb. And Israel took out one of their non-declared nuclear sites in response to the second Iranian attack on Israel. That leaves 2 to 4 more, and they're deeply buried, and they would need our B-52s and our bunker busters to go with them. And the Israeli press is reporting that Israel is getting ready to go after those nuclear sites. And the Wall Street Journal reports that Donald Trump is weighing options for stopping Iran. Now, this wouldn't be a war. This is basically 3 hours in the air over Iran, along with Israel. Would be nice if the Gulf allies came along with us as well, and they just crushed the nuclear infrastructure. Might be necessary to crush the oil export deal. Maximum pressure is coming back, and it's a good thing. We've had appeasement 12 out of the last 16 years. 8 years of appeasement of Iran under Obama because of a weird worldview that he and Ben Rhodes cooked up in some idea machine that they could do a Nixon to China with a theocracy, which actually is not possible. You can't really negotiate with theocracies that have end-time fantasies that are bizarre and that the human portion of the end times thinks it can have an impact on the end times. And so that's what we're dealing with. Theocrats who are fanatics in Iran. A lot of people in America don't like to think about this. They'd rather worry about Christian nationalism, which isn't really anything at all. They'd rather worry about Republicans or Donald Trump instead of Iran's theocrats getting a nuclear weapon, which is the biggest problem, immediate problem. Second one is Russia trying to engage NATO and pushing, but the biggest threat of all, of course, is China. And in order to keep pace with China and stay ahead of China in some areas, the Department of Defense needs to reform everything. So Sankar is coming by, and I am very, very thankfully, as we're going to talk about that. How bad are our problems? This is a side story. It's not the main story. Boeing delays mean Trump won't fly on the new Air Force One. I said, what? President-elect Donald Trump Didn't get to fly on a new Air Force One during his first term. He likely won't get to fly on a new presidential plane in his second term either. The long-delayed project has fallen so far behind that Boeing has told the Air Force that it expects to deliver the new jets after Trump leaves the White House, which means 2029. I'm so astonished by this. It's one or two planes. They might have two of them. And they can't get them done. And Trump was complaining about it when he took office the first time. It's 8 years later. And they're saying we're 4 years away. I know Boeing has had its trouble. I understand that Boeing has had its trouble, but that's crazy. Donald Trump's not having trouble. Donald Trump is, in essence, the acting president. Peggy Noonan noticed this in her column today for the Wall Street Journal, which I posted over at my X. And I think it's great. Donald Trump is the acting president because we all know Joe Biden's not really there. Joe Biden's people are team appeasement. Nobody respects them. They can't get any, their lunch money is taken when they go to the Middle East by everyone. And they're going to disappear into the obscurity of think tanks. They'll come forth for the Aspen Institute annual gathering of lefties. And the lefties will get together with ProPublica and publish their stories in Politico. And they don't matter. Because appeasement's been tried and found to be dangerous for 12 out of the last 16 years, we want to go back to deterrence. And restoring deterrence means reforming the Pentagon. A lot of that coming